Hey everybody, Brian Zayn here with your Backlash 2017 review. I have a lot to say about what happened on Sunday night, but before I go into that, I do want to touch briefly on NXT TakeOver Chicago, which happened on Saturday. That was a terrific show, with the exception of maybe Erick Young and Roderick Strong, which I think could have benefited from a little more build. I think the show was fantastic, especially I loved the Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate match for the UK title. It is as awesome as everyone says it is. If you haven't seen the match yet, believe the hype. Pause this video now, go on the network and watch the match. It is easily one of the top matches of the year so far. I could not recommend it highly enough. I think it far exceeded that of their UK tournament finals in January, which itself was also a great match. So you go out of your way to see it. It's really awesome. Then, of course, the tag team title match, the ladder match, DIY versus Authors of Pain, was fun to watch as well. I mean, the ladder shot that Johnny Gargano took to the face was one of the sickest things I've ever seen. How he wasn't decapitated or at the very least bloodied from that shot, I'll never know. I don't know how he survived that. The big dramatic heel turn at the end, Tommaso Ciampa turning his back on his friend Johnny Wrestling, throwing him around the set and beating him up and everything. Very dramatic and heartbreaking. Quite possibly more tragic than the breakup itself is the fact that, you know, Gargano's the one who got beat up and is probably going to be put on the shelf, but Ciampa's the one who allegedly has an injury. He had the ankle injury going into the show, and, you know, there's news of some other severe injury that's going to keep him out of action. That's really disappointing to have such a big moment happen, a perfectly executed heel turn, and then, you know, he's got to be out of action. That's really disappointing. But other than that, I thought it was a great show. Cool move by the company to put this ladder match for the tag titles, something that's not for the heavyweight championship, in the main event spot. Moving on to Backlash proper, starting off with a kickoff match, Aiden English taking on Ty Dillinger. It's a rematch from a couple of weeks ago. I wasn't too hot in this match going in because we'd seen it before very recently, and at this point, neither guy is like a huge star yet in the main roster. I don't think either guy really benefits from this match, and particularly winning. But I think this match was definitely miles above what they had on Smackdown a few weeks ago. It was actually, you know, competitive and not just one-sided in favor of Ty Dillinger. I loved Aiden English's Van Gogh tights and his Jericho scarf during his entrance, trashing his hometown of Chicago. I love the cutoff that Aiden had early in the match when he was on the apron. He had Ty's foot, and then he dropped it, grabbed his hand while he was distracted, and pulled him in, and then Ty's neck snaps onto the rope. That was a pretty cool cutoff. The match ends when Aiden goes for a top rope maneuver. Ty gets out of the way and hits Aiden with a tiebreaker to win the match. A far more competitive contest, like I said, than their match on SmackDown a couple weeks ago. But my only question with this is, like, how much does Ty benefit from this win? I mean, if they're really going to push him, they need to put him against people who aren't jobbers like Aiden English. The show officially begins with Dolph Ziggler versus Shinsuke Nakamura in his in-ring main roster debut. I was shocked that this opened the show, to be honest. I figured if Shinsuke Nakamura is like the face of your marketing campaign for this pay-per-view, and like they're making a big deal about his debut, then I think that it would have behooved them to put this, maybe not in the main event spot, but like the semi-main, the match before Orton and Mahal. On the one hand, I understand why they opened with it. You got to start strong, you got to get the crowd hyped up, so have your this new big star you're trying to push start the show. But I'm of two minds on it. The pacing of this match was the biggest takeaway for me. It was very unlike most Dolph Ziggler matches. It starts out with the two of them feeling each other out and doing a lot of mat wrestling for the first few minutes. It's really cool to have that combination. You have some mat wrestling, some brawling, some strong style stuff thrown in, and some quick stuff. I thought it was great. Dolph was really dictating the pace of this match. Very slow, methodical pace. Again, very unlike your typical Dolph Ziggler matches. If you watch what he did with The Miz last year and compared to this, they're very different matches because The Miz and Shinsuke are two very different opponents. I liked how Dolph worked so slow getting his heat, and that made Shinsuke's hope spots and his comebacks so much more impactful because Shinsuke was so quick. So you have the slow pace of Dolph Ziggler and then Shinsuke with the lightning quick strikes. That was great stuff. Dolph's hitting Shinsuke with everything he possibly can. A famouser, a zigzag, a super kick to the back of the head, and Shinsuke kicks out of all of it. It makes Shinsuke look tough as hell, and it makes Dolph look so vicious, especially later on when he spits in Shinsuke's face. I'm kind of surprised. I was kind of hoping for a more audible reaction from the crowd when that happened, because spitting in someone's face in a wrestling match is so rare, and when it happens, it's just so, like, disrespectful and like almost evil, and so I was kind of disappointed the crowd didn't pop as much for that. Hits him with a Kinshasa and wins the match. His in-ring main roster debut is a success, and it was a great way to start the show. Like I said, I think if you're gonna be promoting him so heavily on the show as like the face of your brand and your face of your marketing, I think it would have been great to, you know, move it to the semi-main because that's what people are paying to see. But I think this was still a great way to open the match, and it makes Shinsuke look like $1,000,000. Dolph is Dolph, and he just loses now. But at least this match felt more competitive than the stuff with like Apollo Crews and Kalisto. Tag titles are on the line as the Usos defend against Breezango, who really have come from out of nowhere, from being jobbers and afterthoughts to becoming #1 contenders to, in my opinion, one of the hottest acts on SmackDown with the way they've been written and showing their humorous side and just getting time to show their characters and let them develop. Like, you know, you can have a gimmick and stuff like the Fashion Police, but if you don't see them do anything with it, then it doesn't mean anything. So this last couple of weeks, the Fashion File stuff has really helped get them over in a huge way, with me included. And I think, you know, I didn't care about them, and now I do. So it doesn't take much. You know, you just got to show some character and give us reason to care about these characters. Tyler Breeze comes into the match dressed as the janitor from the Fashion File sketch from last week. And when he gets tagged in, at first he's mopping the apron, mopping the ring. He shoves the mop in the Usos' face and trips him up. There's a lot of mop play here, and it's actually really funny, really well done. There's a mop chant happening. When the Usos tag in and get their heat back, they break the mop and just get booed by everyone in the audience. The mop was super over. So Tyler Breeze is tagged out. He kind of disappears for a minute and comes back dressed as an old lady, or as everyone on Twitter put it, say with me, a stunt granny. Like, I didn't get to watch the show live as it happened on Sunday. I was at a wedding and I watched it later that night. But like, my phone was blowing up at about like 5:30 my time with stunt granny, stunt granny, stunt granny. So I kind of had an idea of what to expect, but it was still hilarious. At one point, the dress gets thrown out of the ring and it hits JBL in the head. JBL has some pretty funny zingers, but the last time I had a dress thrown at me, I had to pay for it. And then they show the replay, and then Kerwin Silphy is a longtime director for WWE, gets a name drop by JBL as a result of that, which is pretty funny. Breezango looks very good in this match, throwing the Usos off their game the whole time, but eventually they are defeated as Fandango's going to the top rope, gets super kicked off, the Usos win and retain. A very entertaining match, and you know, even though I didn't think Breezango were going to win, this, you know, they look like a credible threat, even though they're wearing costumes and stuff. They're just getting in the heads of their opponents. Again, I want to see more of this kind of stuff from the Fashion Police from going forward. Sami Zayn taking on Baron Corbin. I gotta admit, I spent way more time than necessary in this match trying to read what the hell is said on Sami's tights. I could make out some words, but I couldn't make out the full sentence because like some words were like this way and some were upside down. Like it took me too long. It was very distracting. But the whole story here was Sami Zayn's resiliency. That was the whole crux of this angle, is that the reason this match was made is because Sami thinks that Corbin is intimidated by the fact that Sami doesn't die as easily as Corbin would like him to. So he's basically fighting back. You know, Corbin's working the back the whole time. Sami's just like coming back from everything. It's very similar, in fact, to the Shinsuke Dolph Ziggler match, but this one felt a little different. Sami beats Corbin with a haluva kick after a very, very competitive match where both guys look good. I think Sami, and I said this in my predictions video, which is on Patreon, you know, his whole thing was he's so gallant, he's such a good fighter, so valiant, he has the heart of a lion, but he ultimately gets beat all the time. I think he was due for a win, and I think this was the right guy to have him to defeat. I don't think Corbin is hurting from this loss. I mean, he's been built so well, he's been beating so many people over the last several months, and you know, he did lose last week to Randy Orton on Smackdown, but it was to Randy Orton, the champion at the time. So it was, you know, I don't think Corbin's hurting from these last couple of losses. I think he'll be able to bounce back, stay in the upper to mid card scene. And I think Sami Zayn will benefit greatly from this win. I don't know how many more often he's going to win after this, but you know, every big journey begins with a single step, and it's very similar to his arc at NXT. You know, he lost a lot, but he had a lot of fan support. Then he started winning. So hopefully we'll see more of the same from Sami as well. 6-woman tag team match as Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Naomi took on the welcoming committee of Natalya, Carmella, and Tamina. What the hell was up with Becky Lynch's hair? So Becky isn't in this match for the bulk of it, not until the very end during the hot tag. She's on the apron the whole time while Charlotte and Naomi are trading tags. Naomi's taking all the heat. I mean, the way they built this is almost you're expecting to see Becky turn heel at the end of the match. Spoiler alert, she doesn't. She gets the hot tag and just a house of fire on the heels. She's eventually distracted by Tamina. Natalya gets her in the sharpshooter and wins the match for the team. So the welcoming committee has officially welcomed the baby faces. It's very interesting because, you know, I didn't think the heels were going to win, but it's good that they did because now that heel group has more legs. It's not just a one and done kind of thing. I thought the faces were going to win and just move on to their next storyline tangent, but now the faces they've won, or the heels have won, and they're kind of here to stay for a little bit, so that could kind of distract the whole issue of Charlotte wanting to go after the Women's Championship. Maybe someone from the welcoming committee will go after it. Very interesting. There was no big heel turn at the end. There was no post-match drama, so we'll see where this goes. Up next, AJ Styles goes after Kevin Owens' U.S. Championship. Play the music! America, 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 America. Ew! Kind of an historic occasion here in this match. It's the first time they've gone one-on-one against each other in WWE. Obviously, they wrestled back in Ring of Honor in the past when Owens was Steen, but this is the first time in WWE, so kind of a big moment here. Great back and forth between these two. Kevin working on Styles' leg for the majority of the match as a follow-up from last week when he hit Styles in the leg with a belt. So great story being told here. Styles, his leg is really affecting him. He can't do the springboard for the phenomenal forearm. Styles at one point hits a brutal snap suplex onto Kevin Owens on the apron, and just the way they both fell off was just so, it was like a car wreck. After the suplex spot, they're fighting on the outside. Kevin tosses AJ into the timekeeper's area, and Styles comes back with a phenomenal forearm off the barricade. Suddenly his leg doesn't hurt as much anymore there. They're fighting on the table. AJ teases the Styles clash, but Owens slips out and grabs AJ's leg and puts it in this like hole, like one of the monitor place holding holes, and so AJ's leg, the one that's been hurting, is caught in there. His leg is caught in some cables and stuff, so he can't get out. So Owens gets back in the ring, wins via count out. Classic heel finish, and it's just one of those chicken shit heel things that Owens is so good at now. You know, before when he had Chris Jericho on his side, he was winning with interference. Now he's winning through like these devious kind of rule bending tactics, like with the count out victory and stuff, and getting him trapped in the table. So cool. It was just this classic way of winning. And then he gets the cheap shot at Edge at the end. I think despite the non-finish, it was still in my opinion, one of the better matches of the night. Another rematch from Smackdown a couple of weeks ago as Luke Harper takes on Erick Rowan. Rowan, on Talking Smack last week, said that he was not satisfied with the victory over Harper. He wanted to give him more punishment, so this rematch was made. As far as comparing the two matches, it's hard for me to do because I kind of like blocked the previous one on Smackdown out of my mind. I was kind of surprised when they made this rematch here because of what's the stakes exactly, why we care that this match is still going on. This was, I think, it felt a little bit more competitive, I guess, than the one on SmackDown. I was trying to jog my memory. This one, again, I'm not too sold in the match just because there's so little heat to it, because this could have a lot of heat to it, but I feel with all of the start-stop pushes with Luke Harper and the stuff with Rowan's injuries, keep him off TV. You know, he barely is on TV for more than a few weeks before he gets hurt, so it's just really hard to get this feud going when there's so little heat to it, in my opinion. At one point, Harper's getting ready to do a suicide dive to Rowan on the outside, and I had to write this line down because it was so bizarre. I literally could not think for a minute. I had to write it down for what Saxton said. He said, Harper has that look of hazardous bewilderment. Oh, okay. I feel hazardously bewildered right now, but I don't know if that makes any more sense if you call it in a wrestling match. The one little interesting bit of storytelling they had here was at the very end when Harper hits Rowan with 2 consecutive super kicks, and each time he gets kicked, he sells over to the corner where his like gas mask sheep thing is, and he's like talking to it and psyching him up. And that was really interesting that he looks to it there, and it's kind of giving him extra powers to like no sell these moves. So Harper hits him with 2 super kicks and then a discus punch to win the match. I thought that was great. It was a good physical match. I wish they did more with the storytelling with the mask thing. I wish they didn't just save it for the last like 30 seconds of the match. Make it more of a thing, kind of like a more serious version of like Al Snow and Head from the late 90s. Main event time as Randy Orton defends the WWE Championship against the Maharaja, Jinder Mahal, and this was a fun match to watch. It was very physical. You had Orton, the story of Orton trying to swat away the gnats of the Singh brothers. You had Jinder working the arm, a lot of stuff fighting in the ring, out of the ring, a lot of table play happening in this one, which I'll get to in a minute, but I think this is a great match. It makes Jinder look very good here. At one point near the end, they're on the outside of the ring, and the Singh brothers are distracting Orton. Jinder jumps Orton, beats him up for a bit, throws him back in the ring, immediately eats an RKO, but before you think the match is over, he rolls out and the Singh brothers pull him out. So Orton chases him around. He starts beating up the Singh brothers. Finally, the payoff with the Singh brothers. He beats them up, tosses each of them into tables. The second one he tosses pretty much drops around his head, which is pretty scary. Then it cuts over to Orton, and he's got this, ooh, gosh, kind of whoopsie look in his face. Orton hits the Singh brothers with the drape over DDT, a double DDT spot. He's immediately hit from behind by Jinder. Kalas. Pinfall, 1, 2, 3. Jinder Mahal is the new WWE champion in one of the biggest out of nowhere, come from behind stories, zero to hero, worst to first stories you could possibly cook up in WWE. It is so surreal, but at the same time so cool. And I am 100%, I'm 1,000% behind Jinder Mahal as the champion. I mean, if you told me this was happening a year ago or even 6 months ago, I would have laughed at you. but it feels like a good move. Now, I think this guy has the potential to be the out-of-nowhere heel main event champion that JBL was 13 years ago. That's the last time I can recall we had someone like this who came from pretty much out of nowhere to become a main eventer and become the champion. And you can explain this away however you want. You can say, oh, they only gave him the title because they wanted to pop the India market. Oh, they only gave him a push because he worked on his body and he got all chiseled. First of all, if that was the only reason they gave him the push, then guys like John Morrison and Scott Steiner would have been world champion 8 times over in the company. No matter how you slice it, the fact remains, Jinder Mahal, again, out of nowhere, plucked from obscurity to become the world champion, the first WWE champion of Indian descent in history. Great colleague. He was the world champion, so that's not the same lineage. So, WWE champion, Jinder Mahal. It's crazy to think about it, but it feels so right at the same time. If SmackDown wants to brand itself as a land of opportunity, then they need to do this. They need to take chances like this. The title just can't be among guys like Cena and Orton all the time. Having guys like Bray Wyatt and Styles was good, but to have someone totally out of left field like Jinder, I think, really kind of makes it that kind of anything can happen mentality that we've been losing for so long, we have not had for so long. I think this is a really good step in the right direction. Between guys like Jinder and Breezango getting these championship matches, I think this is a huge step in the right direction for SmackDown. And here's the thing. Here's why I kind of thought that Jinder was going to win in the first place and why I'm happy he did. Because now you've got Rusev coming back from injury. He's been building up for weeks. He's going to come back for a title match at Money in the Bank. Yeah, they billed that he was going to be on SmackDown last week and then he wasn't for reasons they never explained. But now you have Jinder as champion, Rusev coming back. They still have unfinished business from when they were a tag team and had an acrimonious split on Raw before the shakeup. And so now it's rumored now that Rusev and Lana are not going to be a tandem on SmackDown. Lana's going to do her own thing, Rusev's going to do his own thing, and not having Lana at his side, I think, is going to help him a lot, because I think fans for a long time have been wanting a reason to cheer Rusev. I think over the years he's shown he's got great comedic timing, and I think that can parlay into a good face run if he's built properly. Don't make him goofy. Don't make him like Breezango if you're going to have him go for the world title, but I think having him kind of show off more of his natural charisma, I think that can make him kind of a de facto babyface. And just to think about that, Money in the Bank, Jinder versus Rusev for the championship in 2017, I don't think anyone could have ever predicted this. It's like universe mode booking right now, but I'm excited for it. Time now for my final thoughts on this show. And folks, it's either the first time ever on this channel or the first time in a long time since I've been reviewing pay-per-views on this show, but I'm going to give Backlash 2017 an A grade. Yes, you heard it here, folks. It gets the top marks, gets the gold star. Yay all around for Backlash 2017. This was one of the most fun pay-per-views I've seen in a long time. I loved Shinsuke Dolph. I loved Kevin Owens, AJ Styles. I loved Orton and Mahal in the title match and just getting some fresh blood into the main event scene. Breezango versus the Usos was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while in WWE or just in wrestling in general. Just the stuff that Breeze was doing as the janitor and the old lady, the rolling around as the Usos were trying to splash him. Just fantastic stuff. Even the rematches from previous SmackDowns, Ty Dillinger and Aiden English, and Luke Harper and Erick Rowan, they were improvements upon what they did on television. So it wasn't just the same cookie cutter match. They actually built on that. So that gets points for me as well. I think this was just about one of the best all-around main roster pay-per-views I've seen in a long time, especially here in 2017. TakeOver was great too, but for different reasons. You can't really compare TakeOver to main roster stuff. It's apples and oranges, so I'm not even going to try. Both shows were great. So I'm going to give an A grade to Backlash here. And gosh, I guess now it's time for Who Wore It Better, Pay Backlash style. Well, folks, Backlash had great lower card matches, great mid card, great upper card matches. It had drama, excitement, physicality, humor, shock value for Jinder Mahal winning the championship out of nowhere, something that would have been unheard of a couple of months ago. Payback had the House of Horrors match. And yes, there were a couple other good things too with that show, but you really can't compare these two. It's hard to compare these two. But, it's Who Wore Better pay-per-view style, and Backlash wins for me for brand exclusive pay-per-views in the last month or so. So let me know what you thought about Backlash 2017 and Jinder Mahal as the new champion in the comments section below. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the matter. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees, and be sure to check out the Patreon page. I just unveiled a brand new recurring feature exclusively for Patreon backers of all denominations, whether it be $1 up to $40, doesn't matter. All Patreon backers will get access to my exclusive predictions videos for B-level pay-per-views. The big four pay-per-view predictions are still going to be happening on the main channel, and all my pay-per-view reviews are happening on the YouTube channel, absolutely free. But just for a little additional content for all the backers out there, I have my predictions and thoughts going into the non-big four pay-per-views from here on out, and it's going to be on patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. Of course, don't forget the other exclusive content for backers. Get your name in the Thursday video credits. You get early access to the Thursday videos. You can help dictate what classic pay-per-views you want me to review on this channel. And speaking of Stunt Granny, since Tyler Breeze is bringing back Stunt Grannies, making them hot again, the exclusive Stunt Granny t-shirt for the highest of patron backers. So again, go to patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret for more information. I'm Brian Zayn, and I'll see you next time.